welcome to our podcast, Those Twins Who Knit. My name is Rachel.
And I'm Jessica.
And normally on this channel, we like to share all the things that we've been up to knitting-wise and a little bit of sewing in kind of a traditional podcast format. But today we are excited to talk about some winter planning that we have coming up.
And we're thinking of our winter planning as December through February. So we're kind of thinking of our planning based on seasons. And since there's 4 seasons in a year, we're thinking of it in 3-month increments.
Yeah, this kind of came about because at the very beginning of 2024, we made this big video of like everything we want to make throughout the year. And
in like a Make 9 style format.
Yeah, and it just really like quickly dismantled. We didn't really stick to those plans. It's just really hard to know what you're going to want to make 6 or 9 or 11 months from when you're planning. And so we just really weren't sticking to it. And so then in the fall, we sat down and discussed like what do we want to actually make in the next 3 months. And I think that more immediate turnaround was really helpful and inspiring for us, and I think that we did a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's a little easier to stay excited in smaller increments like that because you know it's something that you immediately want to cast on, and especially like this time around, I'm thinking a lot about like what I have in my stash and what I want to get out of the stash and things like that. So it's a little bit easier to maintain that excitement and joy for making specific pieces.
Okay, so of your fall plans, what did you plan and what did you actually make?
I finished 3 out of my 5, which I'm okay with. I think as long as I'm somewhat sticking to these plans, like I don't want to force myself into a box ever, and I still want to give myself the freedom to make whatever is inspiring me at the moment, but that kind of gave me like a guardrail to go back to things that I was excited about. So as long as I'm kind of in that ballpark, I'm going to be pretty happy with it. But I'll put a picture up on the screen of the things that I had on my radar that I wanted to make. So I'll put a picture up on the screen of what was on my radar. I did have the Esther sweater by Petiteknit, which I was able to finish. The book club cardigan by Sari Nordlund, which I also completed. And then the last one that I finished was the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta. And then the 2 that I didn't get around to were the Port cardigan or Port jacket by Ozetta, which I still really want to make, and it's definitely still on my radar as something that I would love to make, but I'm not including it in my immediate plans. And then I also had the Northern Augustins number 4, I believe, by Anne-Sophie Velling, which was going to be my Christmas sweater for the year, but then that designer actually released a more explicit Christmas cardigan, I want to say. I think the bow one was more of like an interpretation of Christmas, and then she released a pattern that is like very Christmas with like candy canes and Christmas trees and presents and things like that. So I kind of shifted gears, and I'm now knitting a different design by that same designer. So I'm kind of counting that as a win, kind of not.
I would say that's half points.
Half points, partial credit. I do still really want to make that bow sweater by Augustine's DK or Anne-Sophie Velling. I think it's absolutely beautiful, and that might be on my radar again here soon, but just not in the immediate future.
You did pretty good though. Okay, let me think about this. I had cardigan number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which I was able to accomplish. I had on my list jacket number 2 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which I accomplished. The Billy Pullover by Sari Nordlund, which I finished. I haven't finished it on a podcast, but next time we'll see it because it is done. And I had the Monday sweater, which I'm working on and hopefully will finish soon. I'll talk more about that another time, but it's a work in progress, so we'll count it. And there was a cardigan that I did not get to, which was the
V-neck cardigan?
Yes, and that was the only one that I didn't have yarn and stash for. And so I was not shocked. I did remember the other one. I had the book club cardigan on my list too, and I didn't start that one, but I am hoping to move that over to winter planning. So I think I had 6 and I was able to accomplish 4, but I also picked up a test knit, and so I did finish 5 garments in that time. It's just that one of them was not on the original plans. So not bad.
Yeah,
I felt productive.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your Monday cardigan, that is one of the things that I do have on my radar because As I looked at my plans for the next 3 months, I really want to get a lot of yarn out of stash. I'm starting to feel very overwhelmed by the amount of things that I have, and honestly starting to run out of storage. I don't have like a huge amount of space to just store yarn, so I'm really needing to get some out in order to buy more. So one of the things that I've previously purchased is some Aloft silk mohair from KnitPicks, as well as their fingering weight palette yarn, which is 100% wool. And so I'm planning on holding those two together to make another Monday sweater, which I know is super boring because you've made one and I've made two, but I wear the two that I've made all the time. And so I do really want one in navy, and I've already swatched for it. Do you want to hold that a little bit closer? So I'm hoping that that will be one of the things that I'm able to get done. The yarn is a little bit different color.
It really made the coloring of the screen different.
Yeah, they're definitely two different navies. It looks more dramatic on camera than it does in real life, but there is a tiny bit of marling to it, which the previous Monday sweaters that I've made have been pretty solid, so I think it'll be kind of fun to have a heathered version.
Yeah, I like that it's a little bit different. It's not like a solid color.
Yeah.
It really does have some nice marling to it.
It's subtle, but it's there. So that's my first plan. Nothing super exciting. It's just a Petiteknit raglan. But I do really love the ones that I've made before, so I'm hoping to introduce a third one into my wardrobe.
I have a navy sweater too. Should we go in that order or?
Yeah.
Okay, well, first, so we don't forget, I won't talk very much about it because I talked about it in fall, and also you've probably heard every person on YouTube and Instagram talk about it, but I do want to point out before I forget about it that the book club cardigan is going to be on my list, and I do have yarn for it. I'm planning on using the Purl Soho, what is this stuff called? I bought it so long ago. Good Wool. It's so classic. I feel like...
Are you holding it with like a mohair or anything?
Yes, I've not acquired mohair yet.
Because the pattern calls for a worsted weight yarn.
Yes, but that will happen. And Sari Nordlund used a DK plus a mohair for her sample, so I think that that will be really good. I just wanted to start with this because I'm afraid I'll forget about it if not, because we talked about it so many times before. But I have a navy sweater plan as well, but it's a little bit different than yours. I'm planning on using Knitting for Olive Merino and their soft silk mohair for most of this sweater. And I've used this before because I used it for my Elizabeth blouse by Petiteknit. Is that
in
right?
that exact color?
Yes, the exact same stuff. I just bought it again. But it's a little bit different because I am planning on, let me get all of my yarn, making a little bit of a color work project out of it as a Christmas sweater this year. So there's this brand that comes up on my Instagram all the time called Lisa Says Gaw. It's a apparel store that sells like ready to wear and like, you know, pre-made, but they just have really unique pieces. I've never actually gotten anything from them, but they have this sweater right now that is navy blue with two swans. And when I saw it, I was like, this is amazing. It's perfect. I sent it to you immediately.
Yes.
You sent back a really funny meme, and I was like, okay, yes, this is going to happen. And so I bought the navy as the base, and then you gave me some white Knitting for Olive, or is this cream maybe?
I think it's cream.
Whatever Jessica gave me from stash. And then I had a little bit of this, like, I don't even remember what it is. The label is not here. I know it's Knitting for Olive, but one of their pink colors. And so I'm going to be using these three colors to try to recreate this swan sweater. I'm planning on using the Cove sweater by the Knit Purl Girl as like a base to kind of get me started, but I might have to make some modifications to really try to recreate the Lisa Says Gaw swan sweater. But I did have to laugh at myself because the sweater on the website is $150, which I think is a little pricey for something to just buy from a store. But for some reason, my knitter brain told me that it is totally okay that I spent $130 on just the base color, and then you add in these are from Stash, so in my mind they're free, but they're not. This sweater is more than $150, and it's going to take me hours of my life, but I'll be able to say that I made it. So.
Are you planning to duplicate the swan on top of it, or are you going to do like some sort of intarsia?
I was planning on doing intarsia, and I've only ever done intarsia flat. I've not done it in the round, which the Cove sweater, I haven't really started on this, so if I'm wrong, I'm so sorry. But I believe that it does a traditional drop shoulder of like working the back and then picking up for the collar,
so you
and
maybe have it when
you're
you're flat still.
Yes, like but if the swan pattern goes below the underarms, I think I would just work both panels flat and then sew the sides. We're gonna see because we've not really dived into it yet. But I'm planning on this being kind of my Christmas sweater for this year because I have this like association of swans being Christmas. I think from the seven swans of swimming
from the 12 days of Christmas.
And so this is gonna be my like kind of subtle Christmas sweater this year. It's not totally Christmas, so I think I could get away with wearing it like a little before, a little after, but in my mind, this will be a Christmas sweater. So that's my first big plan besides the book club cardigan, although I think this is what I'll cast on very, very soon. I'm very excited to get started.
Well, I'm kind of basing the things that I want to make on the assumption that I'm going to finish my Christmas knitting here very soon, and that I'll be done with my Christmas sweater and my stockings in like early November, and then I'll still have the majority of December to work on other things. So hopefully that's the case.
I believe in you.
The next project that I'll talk about is a project for this yarn that I have, which is knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair and knitting for Olive Merino, both in the color Trenchcoat. This is actually yarn that I purchased thinking I would use for my Christmas sweater this year, and then it came in and it just wasn't the color that I was envisioning it to be, so I ended up purchasing different yarn for that sweater, and now I have 5 skeins of each of these that I need to figure out what to do with. And so I've been scrolling through Instagram and Ravelry, and I think what I want to do is use this to make the champagne pullover by Sari Nordlund, which has just a ton of like lace and cable and beautiful texture. I think it would be really pretty. And I feel like since this yarn is just, it's a little cooler toned, and it's just, I don't want to use the word drab, but it's like a little more drab than I was thinking it would be. And so I think having something that has a lot of texture and fun, interesting elements to it will kind of give it a little bit more life and excitement, and
what will also be nice about this is that it's not like that far out from our skin tone, and so having a sweater that has a little bit of lace where you can put like a t-shirt under it and you would probably see it might break it up a little bit, so that way it's not like skin color.
It's not quite skin color, but it's also like not that far from my hair.
Oh, that's true. Oh yeah, it's very close to your hair.
It's very close. I know.
Oh yeah.
So hopefully, like you said, like putting a t-shirt underneath it, either like a black or a white t-shirt, will like break it up a little bit. So that's the plan. I need to get this out of my stash, and we're gonna do something fun with it. And I do think the champagne pullover is just really beautiful. Sari Nordlund does such a good job with all of those cables and things like that. So I'm excited. We'll see how this goes, but that's next on the list for me.
Okay, you reminded me. I'm glad you said this too, because I would have forgot. Jessica's working on the Christmas stockings, and then Petiteknit came out with another pair of stockings this year, and I think just between seeing a new pattern and seeing Jessica work on her stockings, I was like, I want to make a pair of stockings. So I went out and bought this wool stock worsted from Blue Sky Fibers in 2 different colors. This yarn comes in quantities that have, I believe, 50 grams or 150 grams, and I bought the 150 grams, so I should be able to get quite a bit of yardage out of this. And I'm planning on making the new December stockings by Petiteknit with these.
I love those so much. They're so cute.
They're really pretty.
Next on my list is going to be the Seaway pullover by Ozetta. This is another yarn that I've had in my stash for not that long. I think I got it in September, but it's the Rowan Alpaca Soft DK in this like really dark chocolate brown color. I got it on sale during the Kansas City yarn crawl, and so I didn't necessarily buy it with a plan in mind, but I think it would be a really pretty... I kind of want to use cables in it, but I don't want it to be like a super intricate cable sweater because it's so dark. And so I've been going through Ravelry, and I think this Ozetta Seaway pullover would be a really good balance between having like a little bit of cables and texture to where it's subtle, but it would still give the sweater some interest. Like, I don't want to put so much effort into it if you can't see it, but I also don't want it to be like just a plain stockinette. So I feel like this is a good balance for this particular yarn.
It's love so that dark yarn.
Yeah.
It's kind of got some gray to it. It's not like totally gray or totally brown. It's really nice in between.
It kind of looks almost like a really dark gray in some lights, but in other lights it's brown. And I think it is listed...
It's like a raccoon color.
Oh, it is a raccoon color.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yes. They were telling me at the store when I bought it that this was a color that they don't normally carry in the store, and that's why they put it on sale, was because they didn't have a place to like store it and like display it out on the shelves and things like that. So I feel like I got a really good deal on it, and I'm really excited to work with it. I haven't, to my recollection, I don't think I've worked with Rowan yarns before, so I'm pretty excited to give it a try.
Okay, so this is my last garment plan for the season, but I have others. And this is a yarn that I think I talked about at the same time as your Rowan yarn, because we bought them the same day at the KC yarn crawl. I got this at Unwind Yarn, and this is Kelborne Woolens Scout, which is a DK yarn, and I'm hoping to make the Petiteknit Dagmar jacket out of it, which I believe is a worsted or Aran, so I'll have to get some mohair to hold with it, I think, to get gauge, but it's just a really pretty gray, not like super dark, so I think you'll be able to see the cables, but definitely give a little bit of contrast compared to my really light grayish book club cardigan. So I have two cable knit cardigan jackets for the season, but they're both at pretty big gauges, and also I'm just really enjoying cables. I just finished the Billy pullover and was like, this is amazing, and so I am really excited. I don't think that it will be too much for the season. I think I'll get use out of both of them, so very excited for this one.
I love Scout too. Like, it's such a good DK, and it's fairly affordable for like the yardage and the quality of the yarn. Like, I've had good experiences with it.
Well, and I like that it's got a little bit of a rustic look, but it does not feel rustic. It really is pretty soft for like how it looks as a yarn. I think that that's a really nice balance there. So very excited. That's only 3 garments, but I feel like that's enough with the fact that 2 of them are cable and 1 is color work. So that'll be okay.
I have one more on the list, which might be a little ambitious. I feel like I'm probably overextending what I think I can do, but we'll see. I already have yarn for it. So this is the Coast to Coast Yarn Company in the Alpaca DK base and the colorway Button. I talked about this quite a bit in our last podcast, so I won't go too on and on about it, but it's just a really beautiful yarn that I've knit socks out of before, or at least the colorway. And so I know I love the color. I haven't used this base before, but it's so soft and drapey. And I think I'm going to do the Paul cardigan by Morka Knits, or not the Paul cardigan, the Paul sweater by Morka Knits. I was kind of scared to do that because there is a provisional cast on, and so I haven't fully decided if I'm going to commit to doing the provisional cast on or if I'm going to reverse engineer the very back shoulder so that I don't have to do that. But like I said, I mentioned it in my last podcast, and people were very supportive and confident that it's not as hard as I think it's going to be to do a provisional cast on. So I think I might try to put my faith in people and give it a try.
I think you can do it. I feel like
it makes me nervous, but I think we are going to give it a try. Sometimes the things that scare us end up not being that bad. So I'm kind of hoping this is one of those situations.
Yeah, I feel like you can do it.
Something else that I'm kind of keeping in mind as I consider making this pullover is just that since this is an indie dyed yarn, I think I'm going to have to alternate skeins. So I definitely want to be sure that if I'm doing like the back provisional cast on, that I'm keeping yarn so that I can fade it in when I cast on, or when I not cast on, but when I pick up for the sleeves and start knitting there. So I'm a little bit nervous about the like yarn management portion. I don't knit a lot of sweaters with hand-dyed yarn. I tend to use more commercial basis, so I don't have to worry about like keeping yarn and managing it. I can just make sure everything's the same dye lot and just be good to go. So just something else that I'm having to kind of consider as I go into this, but I'm still really excited about it.
I think it's going to be beautiful. Let's see. Okay, I think 2 more knitting plans, and then just a couple of sewing ideas as well. I talked about this one last time too, but I thought with you talking about the coast to coast yarn, I would share, I have the same color in a sock yarn, which is button. And then the second, the kind of brown color, is the colorway Archer. And I'm planning on making the Bearberry socks by, not Petiteknit, but the Petite Knitter. I feel like that's always a little bit confusing as far as the branding goes. But it's a pair of colorwork socks that I just think is really beautiful, and it's got a lot of detail up at the cuff, but then gets a little bit more simple as it goes down. And so I'm hoping to be able to use this as the main color and then this as the contrast color. And I just really think that the colors will go well, especially compared to what the sample photo is. I feel like these are pretty similar, and so I'll be excited to knit that up. I didn't knit, well, I knit on, but I didn't finish any socks in the fall, so I'm ready to get back to some sock knitting. I have a couple of accessories that I have in mind. So in the spirit of getting more things out of my stash, I have some Fua Fua by Moondrake, which is 70% brushed cashmere and 30% superwash merino. And I have a full skein of this, as well as probably like maybe a third of another skein. So I need to figure out something to do with it. And then you gave me this Brooklyn Tweed Arbor DK yarn that was in your stash forever, and you decided you weren't going to do anything with it. So that color does not even, they don't make that color anymore. That's how long it's been. It is, I forget if it's crumb or crumble. I don't have the label anymore to be able to say, but something along those lines. And yeah, they don't even make it.
Yeah. So I think I have enough of both of these that I'm going to hold them together and make a Sophie shawl by Petiteknit. I made one last winter and I ended up wearing it a ton. I absolutely love that shawl. So hopefully I can hold these two together. I don't think I have enough to really make a large, but I think I have a little bit more than the medium. So right now my tentative plan is to just cast on, weigh my yarn, knit until I'm halfway through my yarn, and then, you know, start the decreases. Because since it's kind of a big triangle where one side stays flat and then the other side you increase until you get to the middle portion, and then you just start decreasing the other way. So it just makes like a big triangle.
Yeah, so, it'd be very easy to modify.
Yeah, I feel like that's the perfect sort of thing for something where you're like, I've got kind of an odd amount of yarn, I want to use it up. I can just go until I'm halfway through one of these and then go the other direction.
Okay, so I have a scarf plan as well. I think it'll be kind of a small scarf, not like a full, but I recently had a designer reach out to me on Instagram. The name is, or the handle I should say, is Atelier VH, but I think it's actually a pair, maybe a mother and daughter, Inez and Ellen. And I followed them on Instagram for a really long time. They just seem like really sweet people, and they have a really nice eye for design, kind of in that Scandinavian style that I really like. And they reached out and said that they had a pattern that they have been testing and working on in German, and that they're wanting to release the same design in English. So I believe my understanding is that the German test knit is pretty much done and like the pattern is good, but they just want to send the English version out to a couple of people and make sure that that is correct. So it's not like totally a test knit, but also like a little bit. It's a, yeah, kind of a test knit light. And so I really just wanted a fun color. I feel like this is so out of my normal range, but it really spoke to me when I went to the store looking for yarn. So I got this like pinkish lavender color that I just think is so beautiful. It's from Moondrake Fibers and it's a Cormo Sport. And the color is Baby Rose. I can't decide if this is pink or purple. It's like a very in-between color. But I have a kind of a, not camel color, it's definitely lighter than this, but it's kind of similar to this color is my winter coat that I like a whole lot. And I just kind of thought they might, like this would pop a little bit against the very neutral coat. And I wear so many neutrals too. I was like, this would just be a really fun winter pop of color to make a little scarf to wrap around. And I don't think the project will take too long either. So I just really felt like this was the perfect time to get a color that was just, I don't know, fun. I'm very excited for it. I think knitting a red cardigan in the fall was very inspiring of seeing how like I do enjoy working with colors. I feel like we gravitate to neutrals a lot because they feel very safe and they're very timeless in my opinion. But once in a while it's pretty fun though. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. So I'm very excited.
Speaking of which, my next one is definitely my pop of color too. And that is two yarns that I've had in my stash forever. This one I've had since March of this year. I got it at the Unwind Retreat earlier this year. And then I honestly don't even know why I have this Essayer Silk Mohair. So, and this is the Moondrake Chibi Sport. So this one's definitely more of like a carrot blood orange. In fact, it's called carrot. But it's like a reddy orange. And then this one's more of like a poppy red. So they're not 100% perfect for each other, but I think they'll marrow fine and I don't think it'll be super noticeable. And I really want to do something with both because I need to make more space. So I think I'm gonna hold those together and then make an Oslo hat by Petiteknit.
We definitely have more knitting plans, but we thought we would throw in a couple of sewing plans for the season as well. And two of my plans I don't have fabric for, but I think that I can acquire fabric pretty easily. The one that I do have fabric for is the loosest of my sewing plans. But I follow this account called What Abby Wore, and 10 out of 10 recommend looking that up because she has amazing style. Every time she makes something, I'm like, I just want to copy her. She's so cute. And she has this brown dress that she made. I think it's very popular. It's saved as one of her top pinned posts on Instagram. And it was based on a store-bought dress. I don't remember from where. But the issue with it is that she didn't use a pattern. She self-drafted it, which I fully admire. But I have not quite built up the confidence yet. But for some reason I was very like, yes, I can do it at the time. And I bought a whole bunch of brown fabric. I think I bought more than 5 yards of this from Blackbird Fiber. This is their linen cotton twill, I think. And so I'm debating about,
why did you buy so much?
I don't know. It was on sale.
Okay.
I think I was thinking that I would try to self-draft and then if I made mistakes, I would have more, which is realistic. I probably will make mistakes. I'm debating about if I will get the confidence to self-draft a dress just like hers, or if I will find a different pattern for this fabric. So my tentative plan is to make a brown dress. That's it. No specific pattern, no specific plans, but I want to make a brown dress this season.
Good goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the spirit of getting rid of things out of my knitting stash, I also want to get things out of my fabric stash. And so this is just some bed sheets that I thrifted at the thrift store that I just think is fun. It just looks vintagey and cute and girly. And so I know it's probably not super seasonally appropriate. It doesn't feel wintry right now, but I really just want to get some of my fabric stashed down, use up some projects. And also we've started talking with our mom about like taking a trip next summer, and we're going somewhere warm. And so I think if I can just make like a nice sundress every month or so, by the time we get to the summer when we go on our trip, like I won't be stressing about like needing to make things. I'll already have things that I'm excited about, and yeah, we're just able to make it my own pace. So I'm thinking right now that I want to use this to make the Daisy frock or Daisy dress by Lydia Naomi Studio, I think is what she goes by. She's the designer who's made the bubble frock, which we've made a couple of times and have had really good experiences with that pattern. So I definitely want to try out some other patterns by her. So I think that's going to be next on the list. And that one also has a lot of elastic, which is very much still in my comfort zone as like a adventurous beginner knitter, because I feel like sewer, thank you. I feel like with elastic, it's easy to just, you know, hold it up to yourself and make sure that things really fit the way you want them to. And I think that's a good way of making sure that things like this that you want to for sure be able to wear will work out.
It's very grandma core.
Very grandma core, but hopefully in like a cute way.
I like it.
Yeah.
So I do not have fabric for this goal, but I feel confident that I'll be able to get some. And that is for the Georgia trousers by Vivian Chow Chin. And I've made her bisque trousers before and love that pattern. I wear them so much. They're probably neck and neck between that pair of pants and the Pomona trousers for like most worn pants that I've made. I love the bisque trousers. So when she came out with the Georgia trousers, I was like, ooh, yes, I would definitely want to make them. They look a little bit higher skill range because they have a button front, but I feel like I can do it. And so that is definitely high on my list right now, and I'd really like to make them with probably like a canvas fabric or something that's got a little bit of weight to it, because I feel like I don't have a lot of good sewing projects that are meant for winter. I feel like most of my sewing projects are like light skirts and dresses, and I just really would like to have some things that are a little bit heavier weight for the winter time. That way I can continue my me-made wardrobe into this season a little bit besides just knitting.
Well, I'm still going in the opposite direction, and the other plan that I have is to get this linen out of my stash that I've had for a while. I believe this is from Matchy Matchy Sewing Company. I'll hold it up, but it's just a nice linen that has very subtle, really small blue and white stripes. And I'm thinking I'm going to use this to make a sleeveless Eleonora dress by Silver Saga.
Oh, that'll be pretty.
I know it's a dress that you made last year in like a gingham, and I really loved your version, and I think I have enough to do it in this fabric. So I think that'll be a good use of getting this out of stash, making something that I can wear next spring and summer.
I love that you're planning so far ahead. I am like
only because I have it and I want to use it. I'm kind of in this mindset where I just want to use what I have, and I don't necessarily want to bring more in until I get a little bit out. And that's purely why I'm focusing on spring and summer. There are some things that I would like to make for winter, but honestly, I just wear so many sweaters in the winter, and I have a lot of knitting plans, so I think I'll be set. I don't think I need a lot for winter other than the sweaters and things that I want to knit.
That's fair. So my last plan for the season is to hopefully get to the Rue Quilt Coat by Spaghetti Western Sewing. I've made a couple of her patterns before, and I just think she has a really cute style. I have never quilted anything, so I'm still deciding if I'm gonna buy some like pre-quilted fabric or if I'll attempt that myself. I have watched some videos already, and I feel like it's somewhat achievable to quilt your own, and I would hate to cut a good quilt up, so I would definitely want to either find like, I don't know, pre-made quilting fabric at a fabric store, or if there was something I came across where it was like not functional as a blanket, cut that up or something. I don't want to cut into anything beautiful or like, you know, anything like that. So that is the last of my plans. I don't have any fabric. I don't even really know what colors or like what I would want it to look like, but I just love that pattern. I think it would be really cool to attempt that.
Thank you so much if you've made it this far. We would love to hear what you're working on for your December through February plans or just general winter plans. If you're making anything for Christmas, please let us know. We'd be so curious.
And if you've made or are planning on making any of these things, please let us know. We always love hearing about that, or just generally what you're working on for the season, or really anything you're excited about coming up this season.